Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 of my review of Doctor Who Series 10. So if you missed part 1, that's where I talk about the first 10 episodes as well as what I think of the new characters and a few other things as well. So if you haven't seen that, then go and check it out, but this time we're going to be talking mainly about the finale, World Enough and Time, and the Doctor Falls. Also spoilers, so if you're not caught up, then I'll ruin it for you here, so just go and watch the finale first, then come back. But without further ado, let's get into it. So the final 2 episodes, arguably the most hyped episodes of the... Well, no, not arguably, they were the most hyped episodes of the entire series. Not only do we get the return of the original 10th planet Mondasian Cybermen, but we also get to see once more John Sim as the Master, in what is going to be, on television at least, the first ever multi-master story. And yes, obviously, if we didn't know that John Sim was back, or the Mondasian Cybermen were, then this finale, I think, would have felt a lot better. And the surprises would have felt a lot more special, but that's the world that we live in. Everyone nowadays walks around with a miniature computer with a camera in their pocket, so it's kind of hard to avoid that sort of thing these days. Did it detract from the episode though? No, not really. So first up, World Enough and Time. Now I've got to say that the first 5 minutes are easily the most cringe-worthy things that I've just seen in Doctor Who. The first 5 minutes were terrible. Like, they just really were. The whole thing of Missy coming out the TARDIS and going, "I'm Doctor Who." He does this all the time. Moffat just loves to just get a knife and just twist it and just irritate fans. He does it for fun. If he'd have just left it as she walks out the TARDIS and says that would have been fine. But why do we need a whole 5-minute scene of fourth wall breaking, of going, oh, well, he's actually called Doctor Who? It was pointless. It didn't actually add anything to the story in terms of the plot, and in terms of the tone, it felt nothing like the rest of the episode. In fact, when you compare it to the rest of it, it's actually quite jarring. But then the story actually gets going. The concept of time dilation, where the top of the ship and the bottom of the ship, they move at different time zones because of the black hole, very, very good. I like when Doctor Who does actually use real life science, because the original idea for the show was to teach kids about science and history, so I really like that. Then we get the big shock of the episode, well, the first big shock, where Bill actually gets shot. Credit to Moffat, I didn't see that coming, and to be honest, I actually thought that would have been a good way to kill off Bill. I think I would have really liked that exit for her, not because I hate Bill and I just want to see her suffer, but because it's sort of so quick and anticlimactic in a way. I think that actually would have been really effective to kill her off there. So when we see her again, I am kind of disappointed, but at the same time, the rest of the episode, I'm glad that wasn't the end for Bill. Now, the main focus of the rest of this episode is, of course, Bill and her relationship with Razor. And we don't really get too much of the Doctor, Missy and Nardole, but I didn't really mind, because frankly, if you are going to tell the story that this did, you do need to focus on Bill and Razor. Now, a lot of people said that this episode was slow, and yeah, it was, but it definitely needed to be. Seeing Bill with this chest unit was just horrible. It didn't really make sense, because it wasn't just her heart that was destroyed. I imagine it was like the back of her spine as well and everything else. So why just a chest unit? I don't know, but that's literally a nitpick, because the rest of this episode, like I say, was pretty phenomenal. And when Bill first wakes up, she hears this monotone robotic voice, and it's easily the beginning of the creepiest scene of the entire episode, where you just hear that guy saying pain, pain, pain over and over again. Then the nurse comes in and she's just like, right, well, what's the matter with you then? Then she fiddles around with his stuff, and then she leaves. Bill comes out and sees that all that this nurse did was just turn down the volume. Then she turns up the volume on another patient and he's saying, kill me. Now, at this point in the episode, I was well aware that these are the prototype Cybermen, basically. And I want to get into the Cybermen now, because that is exactly how I've wanted the Cybermen to be portrayed in Doctor Who for a very, 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 very long time. As much as I love the Cybermen, they are my favourite villain. I would say that the concept of them is probably too far for Doctor Who, at least on TV anyway. But this is probably the closest that you can get to showing the Cybermen as they should in their origins, as just horrendous as it is in Doctor Who. You get a real sense of desperation throughout this entire story, and that these people aren't doing it because this this is the best possible thing for them. They're doing it just because they want to live. It's said throughout the episode a couple of times that this is the cure, this is the future. And you do get the feeling that if you were really sick and you were dying and that there was no other alternative, you wouldn't want to actually go through with that, but you have to. And I love the way that you see them evolving throughout the episode as well. You know, at first you've literally just got the cloth face and the robes and the pipes going into the nose. Then you gradually see bits and pieces of the Cybermen take form onto the body, whether it's the little headpiece or the mouth or the eyes, something like that. Much as I love stories like Tomb of the Cybermen or The Invasion or Earthshock, this is the one and only story where I feel they've portrayed the Cybermen properly. So hats off to Moffat for that. And now I want to talk about Razor, who is obviously the Master in disguise. I don't know if it was because I knew that John Sim was going to be in this or I knew that the Master was going to be in this, whichever, but as soon as I saw him, I knew it was John Sim. Some people didn't. Some people said that the makeup was great, his voice was great, some people thought it was Mark Gatiss. Now for me, I thought it was obvious. I didn't think the makeup was that good, to be quite honest, and John Sim's accent was not that good. It was like Russian, German, Welsh, Indian, sort of all in one, and sometimes his voice slipped. But then again, I have seen enough stuff like Life on Mars and Human Traffic and Mad Dogs to know John Sim when I see him. But that kind of made the episode frustrating for me because as soon as I saw him, I knew it was him, so I was just kind of waiting for the reveal. In this entire story, they are doing the Master how they did in the classic series. They've obviously given him the goatee like Roger Delgado and Anthony Ainley. He's in disguises like the aforementioned Masters as well. I thought it was great, and I'm going to get onto it a bit more when I talk about the Doctor Falls, but I think this is John Sim's best performance as the Master overall. But then of course we get to that cliffhanger, and the last 4 or 5 minutes of this episode are easily some of my favourite, not only out of this series, but just Doctor Who in general. And that cliffhanger is up there as one of my favourite cliffhangers of all time. The Master is just such an evil bastard. That's the evilest thing that the Master has done in the entire new series, I think, because it will not just affect one person's life, but it will hit the Doctor on such a personal level, and that is exactly what the Master is about. Something that Missy has never done. The last 5 minutes. Predictable as shit, but you don't mind because it's almost like watching a train wreck happen in front of you. You know what's coming and you're just waiting for the characters to react because you're kind of just hoping that this isn't actually the reality. So first I'm going to talk about the conversation between Missy and Razor before he reveals himself. Very, very good. Now it wasn't subtle at all. Like some of the stuff that Razor is saying makes it so obvious who this guy really is. Do you like disguises? He'll never forgive you for what you did to his little friend. You would never be so self-destructive. Then again, neither would I. I apologise for my accent, but John Sims wasn't the best either, so I'm having it. That scene was great, and then when he revealed himself. Now the thing is, if we didn't know John Sim was going to be in this episode, that would have been great. But when he took off his mask and then it zoomed in, it was so cheesy. That would not have been cheesy if I didn't know John Sim was in it. But because I did, I was like, oh, for God's sake, really? It was something out of a pantomime to me, but it was still great. Then we get the reveal of the Cyberman, the first ever Mondasian Cyberman, and you know what's coming, and it is shot beautifully. Like when you first see just the feet sticking out of the shadows and then it sort of slowly goes up, and depending on what sort of screen you watch it on, because I've noticed whether I watch it on my phone, computer or TV, it comes up differently. You can just about make out the eyes of the Cyberman when you're looking into that dark corridor, and it makes it 10 times as creepy, and then it stands up and then it walks out, and as it's coming through the shadows, it's perfect. That is exactly how you do the Cybermen. Nitpick though, don't give the original Cybermen the new series Cyberman stomping. It doesn't work and it's stupid. And then Bill reveals that she's the Cyberman, and you think, oh god, like that is probably a fate worse than death to become a Cyberman, because you're not yourself anymore. You may as well be dead, but you're not. And I am still haunted by that "I waited for you" line. Really hit me. It works as well, not just because it's Bill in there, but because those Cybermen have those weird singy songy voices, so they do somewhat sound emotional still. It was just a great cliffhanger, and then John Sim utters the words "Genesis of the Cybermen," and I got so excited. Throughout the entire week I was so excited for the Doctor Falls, because I was just wondering, is Moffat actually gonna do it? Is Moffat actually gonna give us a great finale? And what did he do? I mean, it's not another Hell-Bent, but fucking hell he tried. The Doctor Falls is by no means another Hell-Bent or another Death in Heaven, like I say, but it's not good either to me. Moffat has a habit, right? And I am so sick of it, and this is why I'm glad he's leaving, because he's not learned from his mistakes either. What he has basically done, he takes a great finale that is small and claustrophobic, so something like Heaven Sent as well. It was just the Doctor, that creature, and he's making his way around this castle, and it's very good. World Enough in Time, again, relatively small cast, very creepy, very atmospheric, very claustrophobic yet again. But what he also has to do in the second part is he can't just build upon that story that he's already given you. He has to sort of ignore it completely and just give you this massive grand scale style story. On its own, I guess is fine, but in the context of it being the second part to World Enough in Time, it's just crap. You can't have the origin of the Cybermen, John Sims say genesis of the Cybermen, and then the next episode do about 5 minutes of that and then go off into this wood with these characters and kids that we don't even know or care about, and it's then this story where we're running away from the Cybermen. No! How about you have a story where you prevent the outbreak of the Cybermen, and because obviously they explain that John Sim is kind of the reason why they've happened in the first place, you could end it with the Cybermen and the people coming after him, the Doctor defending the Master and showing Missy what it is like to be a true friend and actually a good person. Something like that. I think that would have been 100 times better than the Doctor Falls. Don't get me wrong, the Doctor Falls has some incredible moments, but that's all it is. It's incredible moments. It doesn't feel cohesive in the slightest. The Doctor Falls just feels like a different number of clips or GIFs or posts to put on Facebook or Twitter or Tumblr that look cool. When you add them all together, it's just a really average story. But I will say there are actually things I liked about it. Starting off, I like the fact that for the most part, Bill was still a Cyberman, and I like the way that they handled it. I didn't fully buy the explanation, but the fact that it was the monks, and I guess a mix of her being the first Cyberman, so the technology's not as good, I can buy the fact that she still thinks that she's herself. And I love the way it was directed yet again when she looks into the mirror. Personally though, I preferred the shot where she saw her shadow and she sees the handlebars. Really effective. Capaldi gives one of the best speeches and performances as the Doctor ever. Where I Stand Is Where I Fall is a brilliant speech and a brilliant moment for the 12th Doctor. Michelle Gomez, for the first time at least with her, feels like the Master, and I really enjoyed her, and I really love John Sim. It's the best that he has played the Master, and it's probably the best performance that we have got from a Master since Derek Jacobi, or probably Anthony Ainley, because Derek Jacobi was only 5 minutes. And visually speaking, in terms of how it looked, yeah, it was very good. That's it. The whole thing of John Sim coming back and his big reveal at the end of part 1 felt really cool. And then in this episode, he adds nothing to the plot whatsoever. In fact, if you take out Michelle Gomez and John Sim, a lot of this episode will not change. I did like the scene where they killed themselves. That was actually quite cool, but that felt like the only reason why John Sim was in the episode, just so he could kill Missy. I don't think it made sense anyway. Why the hell would they be running away from the Cybermen? They chill there for what, a couple of days, and then the Master just says, yeah, we're off now. The Master would have fucked off days ago. It's so obvious that the Master just wouldn't have stuck around. I don't understand it. So what a waste of John Sim and the Master and Michelle Gomez as Missy. And as I just said in World Enough in Time, that is exactly how you portray the Cybermen. They are perfect in World Enough in Time. They are so creepy, they seem so powerful, they seem so desperate. Basically every single thing that you would want from the Cybermen. So why the fucking hell this week are they just weak cannon fodder? Seriously, who prefers those Cybermen that just get blown up like that? That was a rubbish click, but still, I'm angry. Where's the fear factor? Where's the creepiness? I don't understand why we had to lose that. That scene at the end where the Doctor is running through the woods. Now, it has been explained to me that Nardole said something about the floor was rigged with explosives or something, but either way, it just looked ridiculous. The sonic screwdriver is not a fucking gun. Why is he running about going like that and blowing them up? It just looks stupid. Also, I don't quite understand why, if the Cybermen are progressing faster and faster, why they have multiple different versions of themselves. Surely the only Cybermen that should be there is obviously the Mondasian Cyberman, which is Bill, and then all the others should be the Nightmare in Silver ones. I don't understand why the Cybers ones are there, and the Mondasians are as well. For the most part, I really didn't like this episode. I didn't hate it. I have come across slightly more angry towards it than I actually was, but it was just a massive letdown to me. It still wasn't a bigger disappointment as the Eaters of Light, because with this, I actually expected something like this. Partway through the week, I just thought Moffat is gonna just fuck this up, and I'm I'm gonna hate it. And I know people are probably gonna tell me, well, you know, this is what Moffat does. That's not an excuse though. I don't care if that's what he's known to do. That is not a justifiable reason. You can't just say, well, yeah, it's fine, he ruined that story just because he always does that. That's not a pass. Surely you learn from your mistakes. He clearly hasn't. And then we get the ending with Heather. Now, if you watch my channel and you know how much that I hate Hellbent, then you will know exactly how I felt about that finale. Bollocks. I don't care if it was foreshadowed with that little tear in the pilot. I don't care if it was foreshadowed with the tear at the end of World Enough and Time. I did not fucking buy that. You see, the thing is, I said this in my first part, Heather and Bill, they did not have a connection in the pilot. They didn't have enough scenes together. When they spoke, it really felt like Heather just wasn't interested in Bill in the slightest. It felt very one-sided from Bill's perspective. So I don't buy, even with the entire promise thing, I do not buy the fact that Heather would come back for Bill. And to be quite honest, I think it was such a cheap cop-out bullshit ending. You can't just ruin the Cybermen like that. You can't just bring back a companion once again after killing them off. Moffat is incapable of doing that, and I really fucking hate it. Now, on Doctor Who the Fan Show, the after show, whatever you want to call it, they did an interview with Moffat after the Doctor Falls was broadcast, and what he said made me understand a lot. I'll put in the clip here.
Doctor Who's a big-hearted, optimistic show that believes in kindness and love, and that wisdom will triumph in the end. I don't believe it's the kind of show that says there are bitter, twisted, nasty endings, because it's not. It's not gritty. It's aspirational. It says it can work.
I can't say that I disagree with that. I think if that's the direction that you want to take it, then you go that way. I don't mind if that is entirely what you want to do and that is your belief that Doctor Who should be so optimistic and hopeful. That is 100% fine. However, you can't have it both ways. You either do the hopeful, optimistic ending and you tease that someone may or may die, or you kill someone off and they're dead. You can't do both. You can't keep killing people off or giving them a final end and then finding some magic wand bullshit to return it, because it just ruins all the tension, it ruins all the drama, it ruins the Cybermen in this case, and it just ruins the entire story. I don't mind the hopeful stuff. And yes, Bill did deserve a happy ending, but let's put it this way, the world is not a nice place. The new series especially has also said a number of times traveling with the Doctor is not safe. Show that. Show that there are consequences. Not everything should be happy in La La Land. It's bollocks. You need conviction. He didn't have that, and for me, that really ruined the finale that was frankly already average to me in the first place. You know, people accuse me of hating Moffat just for the sake of hating Moffat, but it's not that. I have loved a number of his stories. I do think, in terms of the new series, he was one of the better writers of the series, but this just proves again that he's just lost his way. His ego clearly got the better of him, and he just has to do what he wants to do. He doesn't really care about the story, or ironically the consequences on himself, because he's taking all of the tension, drama and consequences out of his own stories and thinking that it's really clever. He's thinking that, oh well, you thought she was gonna die, well no, I'm gonna reverse it. That isn't clever. That's actually really terrible writing. So yeah, fucking hated that ending. And after the first part, the Doctor Falls was really lackluster to me. You know, less is more. I can't stress this enough when it comes to Doctor Who, because you look at a story, for example, like Earthshock, or The Caves of Ranjazani, or Genesis of the Daleks. You don't really need a load of stuff there. I hate when things get spoilt by just adding too many things, and that's what this finale felt like. It felt bloated, it didn't really feel cohesive. There was great scenes in it, yeah, but they just weren't needed, and John Sims' Master especially felt wasted. The one truly great thing that I noticed about the episode was the parallels. Everyone in that episode, or at least the main characters, was going through a thing of, if I can't stay how I am, I'd rather die. The Master saying he'd never stand with the Doctor refusing to regenerate, Bill of course when she's saying that she's a Cyberman, if I have to stay like this, I'd rather die. That was beautiful, and I thought that was handled quite well throughout the episode, but that's probably the only truly great thing or cohesive thing throughout the entire episode. So overall, this finale, yeah, it wasn't Death in Heaven, it wasn't Hellbent, but to me it wasn't too much better. You know, that's just my opinion. If you happen to disagree, then that is entirely fine, but I was disappointed, as I'm a Cyberman fanboy, what can I say? And I just hope that they delivered on what could have been been the greatest Cyberman story of all time. It just wasn't. But then of course we get the very end where the first Doctor turns up as David Bradley. I mean, I already saw that coming and I'm just gonna wait until Christmas, but frankly, I'm not hyped. It's a Moffat Christmas special, and I feel like Capaldi throughout his tenure has already been robbed of most of the attention, with of course Matt Smith appearing in his first episode, Clara taking over Series 8 and Series 9, and now in his final ever episode, we're gonna have another Doctor, so I am just kind of worried that Capaldi isn't actually gonna get his shine in his final moments. But I'm still curious to see, because hopefully Moffat will not ruin this. This is his last ever episode for the program, or at least as showrunner it is, so I don't think he's gonna give us a really bad piece of shit. It'll just be a fairly average piece of shit, I imagine. So overall then, Series 10, I really like it. Personally, I do think it is the best series since Series 5. I've enjoyed most of the stories this year. Unlike Series 6, 7, 8 and 9, I've actually really enjoyed it. I've been invested with the characters. Capaldi has really come into his own. He's actually finally got his time to shine, and he's out of Clara's shadow. Matt Lucas is a great addition. Pearl Mackie is a great companion, and overall a fairly solid series of Doctor Who. I'm not saying it's the greatest, it's probably like the 6th best out of the new series, but it's still pretty good. So, Doctor Who Series 10, I'm gonna give it a good out of 10. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below what you think of World Nothing Time and the Doctor Falls, and also let me know if you're excited for the return of the first Doctor at Christmas. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure you leave a like on it. If you want to see more Doctor Who related content on my channel, then make sure you subscribe, and if you do, I would love you forever. But until next time guys, take care of yourselves. Goodbye.